You may have gotten my email I sent out today. I was thinking, wouldn't it be nice if our bodies came with a reset button? You know, like on the computer, when your computer's kind of glitchy, you just like hit the reset, power it down, start it back up, and it starts to work wonderfully. So if we had that on our bodies, it would be super helpful, I think. So I like to think of this refresh, which is what I'm calling it, as a 5-day 5 days of clean eating. That's kind of cutting out the things that really give people problems, many people problems, and you may not even realize it. You know, you may feel like gluten doesn't bother you, but when you take out all of these things, gluten, dairy, processed foods, refined sugar, alcohol, and caffeine, those are the things that can kind of gunk up our bodies. And when you take it away, all of a sudden your body, it's like it breathes a breath of fresh air. It's kind of like hitting that reset button. So that is kind of what this is all about. Many times, I mean, technically it's called an elimination diet, but the 5 days is a really good introduction to what does it mean to eat clean? What are some of the things that our bodies really need? It's really a chance to slow down and listen, because our body is often telling us things and we just don't know what it means necessarily. You know, for example, my nephew had eczema and on his hands, and it was really bugging him, and he went to the doctor and they gave him a cream, and it helped somewhat, but it never went away. And they tried all these things, and then my sister and I were talking, and she looked up stuff about gluten, and so they took out gluten from his diet and it went away. And so he still eats kind of gluten-free mostly, but he can sneak some in there and without problems. But you know, that eczema was his body's signal that something was amiss. And so, you know, by listening and trying some things, sometimes you try things out of the box and find they work. So I'm a big fan of using food and lifestyle for sure, and that it doesn't have to be in lieu of medicine, but it can be coexist. I think we all benefit either way when we clean up our eating. So first off, I would like all of us, myself included, to kind of evaluate where you are right now. It is now July 16th, halfway through the summer, and I know personally I've been having cocktails quite a bit every night, kind of thing, in a row, several nights in a row. You know, just because it's summer and it's carefree and friends want to do things and things like that. And not that there's anything wrong with having a drink, but I think my body could use a break, and I would really like to see, it kind of affects my sleep. And so that's, for me, one thing that I would say that I've been sliding on. And so I'm going to use this 5 days to kind of pull it back in. It's something where I know, okay, I'm just not going to have any alcohol for 5 days, and see how if my sleep is better. A lot of times I sleep a lot better when I just cut it out. So that is one thing I'm thinking I would like to change. So how about you think about a few things that you'd like to change? Maybe it's adding in something good, or taking out something. Like for me, alcohol, and maybe even coffee. Like coffee's not bad, but 1 cup turns into 2 cups, turns into, you know, an afternoon cup. So for me, that's another thing I'd like to think about and do. But I would suggest, you know, maybe jotting that down before you get started next week, just to kind of think of these things. Take 10 minutes to just think, or maybe while you're out walking or whatever, you have a few minutes to yourself to just stop and be still. But think about what it is that you would like to change. And then we're gonna make it easy. This is not about white knuckling and trying to really control everything or try to get it perfect, because that's, as soon as you tell yourself you can't have gluten, dairy, all these things, then you really want it. That's the hard part. And one thing I really like to do is take it from the perspective of, I'm going to crowd out the things that are not so good, like the coffee. I'm going to crowd it out with, for example, hot water with lemon in the morning before, when I first get up. There are some good coffee substitutes, which I will employ, and there's green tea. There are other options that I could add in, and I would suggest doing that too. And then if you really, really want a cup of coffee, then have your cup of coffee. I would say that, if you're a major coffee drinker, for instance, I would cut it back to one, try to cut it back, and your body will even feel that. So crowd it out rather than denying or restrict yourself. And then prep ahead. Think about what kinds of things you can have next week that would be gluten, dairy free, and sugar free. And so there is a handbook, so make sure you sign up to get the handbook that has some recipes in there. So there are some things that you can use, but this is grilling season, and it would be perfect just to have a grilled protein, a steak, chicken. And this is not about white chicken breasts. You can eat a steak, a ribeye, things like that, a meat and some salad. Learn how to make a dressing. Like, there's a simple salad recipe in there with it's really a simple vinaigrette. And there are lots of other things like a dairy-free ranch dressing that you can easily find online. And I can post one if you would like. So, making a dressing it'll easily last a week gives you a healthy option, because a lot of the dressings that are on the market are not the best. Although Primal Kitchen is a good one. So I will also post about that. And maybe making a pot of quinoa or some kind of gluten-free grain. Yeah, we're not necessarily going grain-free. We are staying away from gluten. And so things like, you could have brown rice, or you could have a little bit of white rice too. The only thing is, if you're hoping to lose weight, you don't want to overload on simple starches like white rice or even brown rice is going to have more carbs. So not that we don't want carbs, we do want carbs, just to be mindful of that as well. But the biggest thing is just cutting out junk food or processed food. We'll talk a little bit more about that, and just adding in real food and enjoying it and seeing what your body does when you give it good stuff. So those are the basic points of what this refresh is about. So I hope you're excited to join in whatever capacity. That is why I thought I would offer it for free, because so many people are coming back from vacation or they're going on vacation. But you can learn a concept, and maybe even on vacation, you could add in the lemon water every morning, and that would be helpful. So I hope this has been helpful, and I will be back this weekend just to give you a little more details. So if you have friends that you think would like to do something like this, please invite them. And, the more the merrier. So have a good Friday.